For years, people have asked the same question about Jeffrey Epstein's network. How did it keep running for so long? Because Epstein did not operate in a vacuum. He had money. He had connections. And according to lawsuits brought by women who say they were abused, he also had institutions willing to keep doing business with him, even as the warnings piled up. Now, one of those institutions has just agreed to settle. According to Reuters, Bank of America has settled a civil lawsuit brought by women who accused the bank of facilitating their sexual abuse by Jeffrey Epstein by continuing to provide banking services tied to his network. Court records showed the settlement on Monday, which lets the bank avoid a trial that had been scheduled for May. And that is what makes this story so dark. Because this is not just another Epstein headline. This is the money trail. The lawsuit argued that major financial institutions helped keep Epstein's world functioning. Reuters reported that the women accused Bank of America of benefiting from Epstein's trafficking by providing services connected to his operations, and a judge had already ruled that the bank had to face claims that it benefited from the trafficking. That means this case was never just about one man. It was about the system around him. According to Reuters, the lawsuit was filed by women identified as Jane Doe plaintiffs, and it claimed the bank ignored red flags while continuing to service Epstein-related activity. The exact settlement amount was not disclosed in the court filing Reuters reviewed. That missing number is interesting by itself, because even without a public dollar amount, the settlement still sends a message. This case got far enough and serious enough that Bank of America chose to settle rather than fight it all the way through trial. Reuters reported that the trial had been set for May 11th before the deal was reached. And if you have followed the Epstein story for a while, you already know this pattern. This is not the first time a major bank has paid to resolve claims tied to Epstein. Reuters notes that lawyers for the women previously reached settlements with J.P. Morgan and Deutsche Bank worth $290 million and $75 million. So when people ask how Epstein was able to move through the world the way he did, this is part of the answer. Not just private jets, not just mansions, not just powerful friends. Banks, accounts, transactions, institutions that allegedly kept the machinery running. And there is another layer here too. Reuters reported just days ago that billionaire Leon Black's deposition in this same Bank of America case was delayed while settlement talks were underway. The lawsuit alleged the bank ignored suspicious payments by Black to Epstein, though that does not itself establish wrongdoing by Black in this settlement story. That detail matters because it shows how wide the financial questions around Epstein still are. Even years after his death, the case keeps circling back to one theme. Who kept enabling the system, and who looked away while it operated? That is what makes this more than a routine legal update. This is another piece of the infrastructure story, because Epstein's network did not survive on secrecy alone. It survived on access. It survived on logistics. And according to these lawsuits, it survived in part because major institutions allegedly continued doing business around it. Bank of America has not admitted liability by settling, and settlements like this are not the same as a court verdict. But Reuters reports the bank chose to resolve the claims instead of taking them to trial after a judge allowed key trafficking benefit claims to move forward. That is why this story matters. Not because it suddenly answers everything, but because it points back to the same disturbing possibility the Epstein case has raised for years: that one of the most notorious abuse networks in modern memory was not sustained by one predator alone, but by a world around him that kept functioning. And right now, that world is still paying for it.